Now this car is my friend Dan's Rover 827, and he's been promising me a little test drive in this for quite a while. It's a bit on the dirty side, unfortunately. Every time I see him I tell him it needs a good wash, but does he take any notice? Well, yes, apparently he did it 2 days ago, but with it being this kind of lots of salt on the roads and it being black as well, you know, it does show up absolutely every single bit of dirt and salt going. A nice sodium chloride moustache there. Now this car is quite a long way from perfect, because he has been using it every day for the past 3 years, so it's a daily car getting the usual kind of daily treatment. So that does of course mean some of the daily abuse as well. Oh, it's nice to open a bonnet up that's suspended with gas struts. So under the bonnet there is Honda's 2.7 V6 engine. Quite a well used engine, quite well respected. Rather having some great big plastic cover on it, making it look like a washing machine, it looks like an engine, an actual engine full of wires and bits and things everywhere. That's what engines actually look like. And being a V6, you've got this great big kind of heart shape, big sort of beating heart of the Rover 800 and the Honda Legend as well, of course, at the time. Sharing the same platform, same engines, a few other bits. So inside we don't have leather seats, we have the velour seats, velour, which is great, especially if you're a mechanic, because it means you can get them really mucky. Personally, I prefer the leather seats. This of course is the vegetarian option. However, of course, Rover seats are always so good, they just feel really nice, they feel properly seaty. Is seaty a word? It's not, is it? Shall I start? No, I'm not going to start. No, that's a stupid word. It doesn't even exist. Let's not use that word. The point is they're very supportive and very comfortable. I'm not sure why he's got it in this kind of seating position though, because Dan's quite a tall man and I'm touching the sunroof there, so his must be touching even more. And he's sort of sat bolt upright, so either the seat's broken or he's just got a very unusual body. Door shut sounds very much like the R8 actually. Quite light doors, but quite nicely fitting. Now what about this for rear legroom? I mean, there really is plenty in there, but it's been a very long time since I've been in a Rover 800 and I've forgotten just how big the back actually is. Loads of room here for my head, loads of knee room. It's just fantastic. Look at that. I can sit properly in the back of a car. That doesn't happen very often. Try doing that in the back of a Rover 75. It just doesn't work at all. One of the really cool things about old Rovers is the attention to detail. Things like the courtesy lights. Not just one, but two. It's not completely necessary, but I really like that. Rear end styling, very 80s in fact, really. I mean, that's when the car actually came from, was the 80s. This great wraparound kind of reflector light cluster combo thingy. Kind of reminds me of Knight Rider, just a bit less shiny. Lovely smooth start. As with all of these old Rovers, great instrument display, big clocks, nice and clear. The big old T-shelf, as somebody I know calls them. But very practical, it makes sense to have something like that there. And of course some Human League to listen to. Very fitting. These this control panel here for the climate control, it's very it looks very dated, but it's perfectly functionable. The buttons sound quite beepy, but they're quite a nice secure feel to them. and that's off, and that's on. Air vents, they're a bit sticky I think with age there, but other than that, again, nice and functional. Original Rover radio. And then we have, that's where they are, the buttons for the seats. Okay, quite a small cubby hole in the middle there for people who still like tapes, and doesn't surprise me that Dan does. And an automatic gearbox, and windows, electric windows. Right, time to take it for a little drive. Oh, that sounds lovely. Lovely and smooth. The last time I drove a Rover 800 was a facelift version. I had a Vitesse 2-litre turbo. And that was about 2004, I think it was. And it was very quick and very barge-like, as I remember. It really wasn't a sports car, and this has a similar kind of feel to it. It just wafts along really smoothly, but you can feel it's not really for chucking round corners at all, so I'm not going to do that. But I would quite like to put my foot down a little bit. Brakes are quite soft, but nice and progressive. I believe the 2.7 litre engine had, I think it was 163 brake horsepower. But I can't be absolutely sure about that now. Right, now we've got a bit of road here that I could possibly put my foot down a bit if it wasn't for the fact there's a tractor coming the other way and everyone's stopped. You don't really need to stop because there's a tractor coming, or indeed a car coming the other way. But for some reason, that's what they've done. And now I've lost my opportunity to really put my foot down, unless I annoy the person behind me, and don't do it just yet. Right, okay, go. Nice. Sounds really rather fruity indeed. As fruity as a helmet full of oranges. Now the steering feels quite light, but it doesn't feel like there's a problem with it being light. It just feels light, as in not too heavy, which is, isn't it what you want really? It's very light on these. When you're going slow, it seems to stiffen up. Maybe it's my imagination once you're picking up a bit of speed. Dan did tell me I can put my foot down a bit, so there we go, I just did it. I've got to be honest, I actually fancy doing it again now. Do you know what? I think it's better than a 75 as far as just comfort and obviously quality is concerned. Speed, I'm not sure. Again, that does pick up well. That's good. I better slow down a bit there before. I'm bearing in mind that this car is actually from 1990, so it's 31 years old. And I've got to say, you know, there's a couple of tiny rattles on the trim, but the whole thing really does feel very solid indeed. There's no suspension clunks or anything like that anywhere. There's none of that nonsense. I didn't think there would be, really, from a man who specialises in 800s like Dan does. But often, like the painter that doesn't paint his own house, or the builder that never finishes his extension, a mechanic often leaves his own car with bits trailing behind him, causing sparks and all sorts of nonsense everywhere he goes. Maybe they're just made much better in the first place. So the only thing about it I'm not massively keen on is the brakes. They seem a bit spongy, but I think more modern cars just have overly powered brakes, if I'm absolutely honest, to make people feel secure in driving right up your arse. That's what that's about. Bad manners. Encouraging bad manners everywhere you go. Not a good idea. Yeah, thanks. These days everyone's obsessed with carbon fibre and plastic that looks like carbon fibre, and the wood has gone out of the window. But this is really nice. I always liked Rover and their wood trim. It is actually wood as well, it's not plastic, which is, it just looks a lot more gentlemanly. The Gentleman's Express. Yes, I believe that was its nickname, the Gentleman's Express. And it certainly suits it. Now this chap here is called Dan, and he is Rover Revival's Rover 800 specialist. So Dan, what are you working on today?
A Rover 800.
Ah,